Here, new episode of Chordplay. This is the Chords of Savatage, and it was about 3 years ago when I featured the late great guitarist Criss Oliva in a 3-for-all episode where we looked at some of his licks. And since that time, I've had lots of requests to feature more of Criss's music and the music of Savatage. And once again, these guys are essential. They formed in Florida in 1979 and definitely helped pioneer progressive rock, hard rock, and metal in the early 80s. And from 1983 to 1993, they released 7 studio albums and 1 EP. And unfortunately, Criss Oliva was involved in a car accident. He was hit by a drunk driver and killed in 1993. So don't drink and drive out there. But definitely, Criss Oliva's legacy, on the guitar and his music with Savatage is historic. And there's a large, fan base of very dedicated and loyal fans out there for Savatage, Criss Oliva. And then definitely what his brother John did after Savatage. He formed Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And we've looked at their chord work, in a Chordplay episode on this channel. But now we're going to hit Savatage and look at some of Criss's, interesting chords and rhythm work in their music. So here we go. The music in this episode is going to come from those early Savatage albums when Criss was still working with the band and alive. And they did continue after Criss's passing, and players like Al Pitrelli and Alex Skolnick, worked with Savatage. But Criss's brother John Oliva, the frontman of Savatage, he admitted that after Criss's passing, the momentum and energy that the band had dissipated or died with Criss, which is unfortunate. And that's basically how, John kind of shifted his focus from Savatage to Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And TSO, does tributes to Criss in concert. And they play, Savatage songs sometimes in their set. So it's really interesting to see, that history and that legacy of Savatage kind of morphing into a different group. And, Criss's brother John still paying tribute and homage to, Criss Oliva. And another thing that's interesting in this episode is a lot of the chord work that Criss did in Savatage's music. There's all these clean interludes and intros and passages just using bar chords, minor bar chords. And it's definitely going to strengthen your bar chord awareness and ability. But then also, it's just a really good technique boost, too. A lot of people don't think of chords, when they're working on their technique or building strength and endurance and stuff on the fretboard. So if you're having trouble with bar chords and wanting to kind of beef up your strength on the fretboard, this is a great lesson for you, for sure. With the opening, that's Power of the Night from the album by the same name, and this entire lesson is tuned down a whole step, but this example is tuned down a whole step in a drop D. And Power of the Night's like this. So we're tuned down a whole step in a drop D, so that low E string is now a C way down there. And you've got the single note riff in the beginning. So that D to C, and then you're kind of bouncing between that F and E. And then that E, F to G walk up right there. And then right there, that D to C, and then a B flat to C power chord. And then do it again. basically move into a D minor bar chord, but you're going to basically lift, you know, the fretted part and just bar the 5th fret and then hammer on that D minor like that. And then you're just hitting that low, you know, C. Kind of smear into that D minor, and then you're moving up to F minor, and then back to D minor like this. And then do that kind of, you know, hammer on there with that chord. And then B flat to C again, power chords. Cool riff, and I love those detuned, you know, heavy riffs like that. Really cool. Next up is Strange Wings, and this is from the Hall of the Mountain King album, and this is just regular whole step down tuning. So we're not whole step down and drop D, just straight up, you know, whole step down tuning. And Strange Wings is something like this. So it starts with this opening, you know, power chord riff, and it's an E5 to a G over D right there, kind of a sneaky, you know, shift, and then a C5 like that. And then do everything the same the second time, but then slide that C5 to D at the end like this. That last time, just let that C5 ring. This. That's basically, you know, pedaling that low E open and then an E minor chord right there. And then right there, that's like a D5 over E, because you've got this A-D action. It's all over that low E, you know, open. And that last time you're going to hit that G5 and go down to a D sus2 right there. That riff, because those chords are kind of unusual, and that's one thing you're going to notice from Criss Oliva is just his chord, you know, vocabulary and the way he puts progressions and stuff together is really interesting. Next up is the song Sirens from the album by the same name, and Sirens is a great Savatage album, and the song Sirens is something like this. sus2 chords everywhere. There's a B flat sus2 right here to open it, and then you want to move that up to a D sus2 right here. Go back to that B flat sus2, and then you hear this F to E, and then you hear a picked, you know, E5 right here, like that. So that first pass. To that B flat to D sus2 action, and then right here you're going to move up to an F sus2 and then slide that to E sus2 like that, and then you hear the top two notes like that. But I love that little shift because it's definitely, you know, outside and then in, you know, key or whatever. Start it again, B flat sus2. unexpected, and I love those weird little shifts. Really cool. Next up is I Believe. This is also from the Sirens album, and this is really cool, like this. Basically starting with this E minor, and you're hearing this kind of, you know, hammer on pull off, almost like a trill, like a lazy trill. Because it's really just back and forth. You know, it's not really a full trill, just kind of a partial, that kind of slow trill. And do the same thing on D minor right here. E minor, back to D minor, and you hear this riff, which is really cool. It's F sharp minor 7, and then C sharp minor 7, but you're doing a hammer on the F sharp minor 7, and then you're going to do a pull off on the C sharp minor 7 back to that sus2 note, like that. It's got this kind of soul R&B kind of movement to it. And then it's E minor right here, E minor 7, and then B minor for sure right there, and then D minor, and then right there you're going to basically play a C sharp sus2 and hammer on that E note to make, you know, C sharp minor. Like that. Really cool intro part. Next up is Last Dawn. This is from the Hall of the Mountain King album, and this is definitely a minor bar chord workout like this. Happening right there, and it's this kind of cascading, you know, shifting kind of chord progression, but it's E minor right here, and then G minor way up here, and then D minor to F minor, C minor, E flat minor, B flat minor, and then D flat minor. Just doing this minor third kind of shift. Right? So we're kind of doing like these chord substitutions and kind of shifting, you know, between different keys right there. Flat minor, you're going to move back to C minor, and you're going to also play with the sus2. Right? You're going to kind of do that, you know, sus2 action, grabbing that D note, and then also grab that G note waiting down there on the low E, and then do it again. And then loop all those chords once again. issues with bar chords or those minor shapes, that's definitely a big workout. Last but not least is Fight for the Rock from the Fight for the Rock album, and it's something like this. So it starts with this A riff. So you're doing that C and B action right there. Moving down to that F, and then you're kind of grabbing, you know, it's like an F flat 5. And you're also going to reach up and grab this. And that's an implied F major 7 right there. So it's really cool the way it starts with this implied A minor. You're shifting over to like F major 7, which is really cool. You know, something like that. And the last time you hear that F go up to a G power chord, you got this little single note riff. It moves right in the verse right there, but that's a cool riff. That's going to wrap this episode of Chordplay with the Chords of Savatage, and definitely Savatage is a very important band for progressive rock, hard rock, metal, and really for anybody out there that's not really familiar with Criss Oliva or the music of Savatage, I highly recommend dive in. There's some great music to be found, great guitar work. His solos and stuff are awesome. You know, he's shredding. You can hear this neoclassical kind of influence. Not really, you know, the Paganini harmonic minor like Yngwie. Yeah, it kind of reminds me more of Randy Rhoads, that pure kind of classical influence, you know, natural minor scales and stuff like that. Lots of minor keys, for sure, and I'm a huge minor key fan. So that's probably why I'm a big Savatage fan, too. So anyway, leave some feedback and comments. Please subscribe to Lessons, and I'll be back before you know it with more content and material. Thank you.